The challenge is to draw the audience into a very volatile, emotionally uncomfortable state where, yeah, they've got a lot of very understandable feelings about him and prejudice against him that in the world I think are black and white and legally should be black and white. But how can we draw the audience into her emotional state where those feelings aren't black and white, they're mixed up? And that's the subject of the film, and that's the emotional space that the audience are invited to come into, is a very uncomfortable space where desire and guilt are mixed up, where love and abuse are mixed up. And it's a kind of, her life has been torn apart by those contradictions, and the film is following her to pursue answers to those questions, so we've got to draw the audience into them. It's a claustrophobic, nihilistic relationship. It actually only has damage in it. It's only damaged their lives, but there's a profound bond between them. Something real happened between them that changed their lives, and that is actually still being worked through. So this uncomfortable space where she actually might still love him, or she actually might still want him sexually, or is that only to seek a validation or a provocation? All of those things are we're drawn into that ambivalent and grey space that's emotionally true and that is going on between them, but we're kind of pulled into that quicksand with them.
And as a director, how did you find this particular project? How difficult in terms of obviously the subject matter, but also drawing out those performances from your leads?
I mean, the difficulty of the subject matter, the drawing out of the performances, I guess that's kind of what my job is. That's what I do. But honestly, that's what I do in the theatre. That's why I get out of bed, is to go into the rehearsal room and to say, you know, to go into the raw nerve ends is what I choose to do with great plays. So I guess the challenge for me was, as a first-time filmmaker, learning how to tell a story on camera, and working with teams and working with the different phases of filmmaking. And that was a real thrill, but also a kind of complete baptism by fire.
It's so raw in this.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't think of I can't think of the last time I saw someone kind of give such a raw, visceral performance where they are kind of collapsing on screen.
Yeah. And she, like, another great thing to her credit is she knew this play, she'd seen the play, she loved it, so she also knew where she'd have to go. Now, this film doesn't replicate the play at all. The emotional space she opens up is quite different. But by knowing the material, once she signed on board, and maybe what she knew of me, this is not a polite, easy performance. And I love the fact that that's what she wanted, and that's where she wanted to go.
And is it your intention to continue making films?
Yes.
Which thank you. Is it your intention to continue making films which don't offer an easy end, because you know that once we walk down the street with her, those questions are going to be firing in from all angles at everyone involved? Yeah. And is it that kind of delicious sense of what happens next? Yeah,
I guess I get a kick out of that. In literature and in filmmaking, I like the world to be sort of exploded and problematized, and making me kind of hungry to keep asking things, and unfinished, like a dream that I have to keep puzzling. And it also has a kind of fierce beauty in poetry. And for me, that ambiguous space, both kind of, morally, intellectually, emotionally, and poetically, that's what I want to when I go to theatre or film. So yeah, of course, they're the stories I want to tell.